Yeah, once again, JSGA everyone, thank you for coming here. This is the new thing that we are trying to, this might be a series. We look forward to it as a series going further. It's a development series for the youth of JSGA and Atlanta, maybe beyond, basically. Dhruv is handling out feedback forms. Please fill them out during the event or after the event as you feel comfortable. That way we can gather that feedback and try to make it better as we go on further. Now, to kick off the event, once again, JSGA, every event we start with 3 Navkar mantras. Let's go ahead and start with 3 Navkar mantras and then you can move on. And 3. Yeah.
Om Namo Arihantanam. Om Namo Siddhanam. Om Namo Ayariyanam. Om Namo Uvajjayanam. Namo Loke Savasahunam.
Eso Panchanamukaro Sava Pava Panasano Mangalanam Cha Savesim Paramam Havai Mangalam Paramam Havai Mangalam. Om Namo Arihantanam. Om Namo Siddhanam. Om Namo Ayariyanam. Om Namo Uvasayanam. Namo Loe Savasahunam. Eso Panchanamukaro Sava Pava Panasano Mangalanam Cha Savesim Paramam Havai Mangalam. Paramam Havai Mangalam. Om Namo Arihantanam. Om Namo Siddhanam. Om Namo Ayariyanam. Om Namo Uvasayanam. Namo Loe Savasahunam. Eso Panchanamukaro Sava Pava Panasano Mangalanam Cha Savesim Paramam Havai Mangalam. Paramam Havai Mangalam.
JSGA everyone again. Yeah, we would sincerely like to thank Jagdish Uncle for his time, all the panelists for taking your time to be here and supporting our youth, and Purvi as a moderator and as being a key person for making this happen, and also the JSGA Youth Support Committee, which is Narendra Bhai and Rastal, Neelima ji, Sonal ji, who else am I missing? Dhruv is here, Dhruv, Rakesh, and maybe I'm sure I'm missing Ankur, Ekta. So a lot of people behind this. We would sincerely like to thank everyone. And also the sponsor for today, that is Kaushik Bhai. Big thanks to Kaushik Bhai and Rupa, thank you for the sponsorship, really appreciate it. Let's I think hear from Neelaj Bhai and kick it off.
Thank you everyone for coming here, and youth, you are so ready for event. I'm not taking your time. Thank you very much everyone, and thank you very much for the sponsor Kaushik Bhai and Rupa to take an initiative for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So do we have any students at the back? Students, if you guys can please exchange seats, and if you have parents or anybody sitting in the front, We'd like to see the youth up front and parents a little bit at the back, because this event is for the youth, for the students, right? So we would like to see more interaction of the youth there. It's okay, you can move front. You can move up front, that's fine. Just come on. All right. Jai Shirendra, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the first of what I hope will be many such youth career guidance events at the JSGA. For those who don't know me, my name is Dhruv Shah. I am one of the committee members of the youth subcommittee, and I've been a JSGA member for upwards of 20 years. It is my honor and privilege to present to you our keynote speaker for today, our very own Dr. Jagdish Shet. A round of applause for him. I don't think Dr. Shet needs any introductions here. I really don't, right? But in case you're not aware of some of the things, maybe I can give a couple of snippets, which will probably take a few minutes, even though it's a couple of snippets, okay? Dr. Shet is a thought leader, and he is the Charles H. Kelstad Professor of Marketing at the Gurdwara Business School of the Emory University. Very recently, he was awarded. Very recently, he was awarded the Padma Bhushan Award, which was presented to him by the Government of India in recognition of his contributions to academia, government policies, industry, and communities around the world. He has co-authored or authored more than 30 books, and his work has been cited in more than 300 publications globally. He has been advising a lot of the Fortune 500 companies on marketing and consumer behavior, so some phenomenal achievements there. For those who have an interest in marketing or have a career in that, like myself, it was very interesting to read his book, The 4 A's of Marketing, which actually turns the traditional 4 P's of marketing on its head, really. So I really love that book, it's really good. Dr. Shet is also the founding member of the JSGA and the Jaina Federation, and a core member of the Indian Institute of Management in Calcutta. I believe that people around the world, corporations and governments, they are trying to get his mind share, and I think we are very fortunate to have him in our presence here today. So without further ado, Dr. Jagdish Shet.
Well, good afternoon. Can you hear me okay? Yes. More importantly, can you see me also? Only the short people can make that joke, right? I'm very pleased to be here for a bunch of reasons. Most immediate reason is that 3 generations of the Shet family are here. My son, our son, I'm sorry. Rajan and his daughter Aya, they are here, which is great. I think it's very important that we have intergenerational continuity at the same time as we adapt to the new environment. I'm very pleased to be here. This is actually more a labor of love, because this center itself was nothing but a vision that we had maybe 20 years ago. We used to meet in everybody's house or some hotel, and there was a courage in this community to actually get things done, build this, especially the Jain Center here with 14,000 square feet, etc. Lots of people have put the time, effort, talent, and everything, and this is not the reality. We have from less than 50 family members. When we came almost 28 years ago, we might have at least 700 families now members. It's just exciting to see how Jainism or Jain community is coming to Atlanta. Last comment, very importantly for younger people, Jainism as a religion was always what is called footnote religion. Can you make the sound okay? Somehow. Yeah. Whoever is able to fix it. Yeah, but I don't think that'll work. Okay. So that's very key. Two religions out of India. First of all religions have begun only in two places, India and Jerusalem on the other side. Western religions are all, Judaism is the oldest, Christianity, Islam, and the same thing on our side. Hinduism, traditionally, Jainism, Buddhism. There is a Sikhism, another religion, more contemporary. I think the noise is too loud, if it's okay. Is it okay? Okay. So just want to point out, Jainism and Sikhism were what was called footnote religion. Scholarly books on religions of India, they'll write one in Dubai. The expert here. Okay. Thank you. I can speak without a mic.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
That works great.
Okay. So let me speak without a mic. Fix this. Typical problem. There is not a single wedding I have attended where there is something is wrong with your audiovisual. Anniversary, something is wrong with your audiovisual. I think it's a change of the culture.
So mic is on.
Mic is on now? Good, thank you. Yeah. Okay. So I do want to mention the following. Please go back to our religion before I get into the mega trends about the job and the careers. Because what we have advocated in our religion thousands of years ago is the new modern lifestyle and how to manage that one. The three principles on which it's founded. It is the most exciting religion in all of the academic universities in the departments of religion. Most of the scholars are actually American or foreign scholars, not Indian scholars as much. And it's exciting to see how what was a footnote religion is becoming a mainstream, and I'll connect the dots down the road. Just wanted to mention that. Back to my topic. Your careers, I articulated, is about 20, 25 and 1 years. Think about not just right now you are preparing obviously for getting admission at a top or a good university, and you are preparing your SAT examinations, you might have done it. You might be actually doing, in fact, your AP exams or what a community service. I'm thinking about beyond that one, when you finish your college education, what will you do? It's an intermediate step only, so we think about the final destination. And that is driven by the external factors, and I'll talk about a few of them depending on the time. The biggest change taking place worldwide is aging population. The oldest nation in the world is Japan. Every month there are fewer Japanese men than the last month. There is nothing they can do. In the German market, the number of deaths is the same as the number of births, zero population growth. In America, at least, we have some positive trend. We have 1.6 children per woman produced, which is below what is called the 2.1 rate, replacement rate. So we are going to get eventually in a deficit mode, like the advanced European countries have done. Russia is going through that one. Japan is the lead nation. So we need to prepare for the society of aging population. We are living longer. We are living longer and longer. And by the way, if you go back 100 years ago, how many children do you think we produced in this country as opposed to 1.6 now? What do you think? Young people only. 4? 4? 5? 7.1. Now why would you produce so many children? Because in the agriculture economy, children are an asset. Once you go into the industrial economy and now the knowledge economy, children go from the asset in your accounting system to the liability. To raise a child today in a metro area like Atlanta, it'll cost you about $250,000, not counting college. Today, college burden on the Americans primarily is about $1.5 trillion of debt. They have to borrow money, which means you're going to invest not only your time, but your parents' money, etc. So how can you make that a very productive experience, and the journey becomes very critical. And today, children give you what else? This is the parent side of the aisle now. They give you heartaches and headaches, right? You don't buy that argument? You never did that, of course. The point I'm making is that when a society ages, oh, by the way, one more fact very quickly, and I'm being very casual, very conversational in the process. The fastest growing segment in America is what we call centenarians, people who live to be 100 years older, 100 years or older. And second fastest growing segment is 85 age and older primarily. And we are retiring out at age 65 as a retirement technical age. About 10,000 people are now becoming 65 years and older per day. There's a massive tsunami toward aging side. And the 85-year-old or 100 years old, they still want to drive, okay, for your information. And they will compete with you on the same road. So be careful about this older generation, okay? They're not all living in Florida, okay? They're everywhere in every street. Now the serious part. When the society ages, what is the thing that it concerns most, which drives the economy, which drives the employment and the job opportunities? What is it that they worry about most? Your grandparents will be worrying about what?
Medical?
Medical. Health preservation. They all want to live longer and longer, preferably in good health. So healthcare sector will take larger and larger chunk of the American economy. It used to be only 8% of the GDP as it is called in 2000. It is about 14% right now at $3 trillion economy. Now, 3 trillion may not sound too much for us because we are so wealthy, but it is more than the GDP of the whole country called India. Think about that. Massive segment. And there are three parts in the healthcare delivery, where you have the doctors, the nurses, the physician assistants, whatever they call them. But you also have the medical device makers, or the equipment, and of course you have the pharmaceutical industry. They're all growing everything. Fundamentally, society is shifting in the biological sciences. Last century or 2 centuries, it was all about industrialization, so mechanics and physics, chemistry were the powerful disciplines. The disciplines rising more, where the job opportunity will come depending upon your college career, is all about biological sciences. Today we know how to clone everything. We can clone a sheep, we can clone a cow, we can clone, in fact, shrimp, we can clone a human being, which immediately raises all the ethical issues for which there is no answer in the Western world till you go back to Jainism again. These ethical issues were debated in the thousands of years ago in a dialogue. So it's very important to understand that the biological sciences, so the future computers will be designed on the biological principles, not on mechanical or physics or chemistry principles. Key shift in the disciplines, right? Keep that also in the back of your mind. So given that biggest innovations will be for life preservation across any areas primarily, right? And the second major area would be when you grow older, what else do you worry about? It does not have to be Indian or Jains, anybody in the population. You worry about your wealth preservation, right? How can you survive? Retirees have no income, and this is where the debate starts. So the wealth management industry, banking, finance, etc., will have huge job occupation opportunities. Health would be another major platform. The third thing is that when you are older, you don't have to go to the work every day, 8 to 5 or whatever the cycle is. You have more leisure time on your hand. So what industry do you think will be growing in the process with more leisure time? Cruises, cruise ships. They are growing faster than the economy. They are investing massively in mega ships, for example. I just read yesterday, last night actually, how these big ships now have luxury suites, 1-bedroom suite. Everything is inside, internal dining, private dining. And the cost per suite per day will be $11,000 per day, which is very key factor. So the whole recreational needs are changing in the society. You know, in the old days, at your age, when you are young, contact sports like basketball or football is enjoyable. At my age, contact sports is dangerous. Okay? So people are giving up. Contact sports become more like spectator sports. You know, you dress up in that one, you get into the, but you are not going to play. More and more, they are going to our non-contact sports. Fastest segment has been at one time tennis. Tennis is on its way out now. And the most popular program or sports or activity is golf. People are now into running. Running would be too hard. We have marathons for running. There will be marathons for walking, okay, for your information. These are the great opportunities just on that one demographic. I'll take a second demographic and we'll talk about that in its implications. Today, if you are actually going into the workplace today, there is no way except to have both spouses work together. So the traditional family where there was a homemaker and a breadwinner, that is blurring the boundaries. There is more sharing responsibility in the one hand, but one of the key factors that happens when the wife or the spouse begins to work outside the family, there is a shortage of time and a shift of time. Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, who is home? What do you think?
The dog. The dog?
Nobody, the dog is the thing. And the dog is on its way out also over here. In fact, pets is a great industry right now with the aging population primarily, but pets will be all displaced by an electronic dog. More and more electronic dogs will be making friends. They are more interactive now. Absolutely incredible scenarios are happening pretty much. So I will just tell you, biggest love and affection we give as toddlers, infants, etc. is what toy, which is the dumbest toy possible. The teddy bear. Worldwide. Teddy bear. Teddy bear is dumb. Does not have interaction, so I'm getting too much help here, you know. So that's again very fascinating. So we are talking about going forward. You will have robots as assistants for senior citizens. There are no other human beings to take care. You will have robots as pets, whether they are in a dog form or a cat form or whatever imagination you may have. We will be living more in the digital world, for example. Think about all the jobs that will be possible in the digital architecture, which is my second point I will make. And by the way, the time shift and time shortage creates a lot of need for convenience in the society. So in front of your eyes, you can see Grubhub, home delivery, I have no time to go. Uber Eats, all college students order things nowadays rather than to cook themselves. And in this generation, that your generation, you are not learning 3 homemaking skill sets. Doesn't matter which gender, cooking, cleaning, and childcare, which is what the mom did at one time. They're all becoming commercial viable activities now, more and more, which again I think is very important to understand, because this is where new needs and opportunities will come from an industry viewpoint, business viewpoint. I will shift toward the second area, and that is, and I will add one more in the demographics. There's a huge now inequality. Middle class is collapsing in America. Very rich people are getting richer and poor people are getting poorer, essentially. There's a huge debate in politics as it is happening in this election, as you can see. the Democratic platform versus the Republican platform. There may be some convergence, but these demographics, income and the declining of the middle class is a major one. We said there will be super luxury products out there. Nobody could have imagined we could pay that much, for example. And there will be totally non-frill products. So Walmart is one, but Aldi comes about around here. So all of these are changing the market, and there is a huge online shift taking place. People are ordering first online, then going and visiting the store. Last year, I'm doing a lot of work on retail stores. Last year, 9,300 stores were closed in America. Year before was about 6,700, massive change. All of this creates opportunities for new things. Let me get into the second area, which is technology. Technology is much more rapidly moving. Companies like Google, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp did not exist only 15, 20 years ago. And they are the dominant players in everything we do. Social media has taken over their life. I'm actually having a book ready almost pretty much about the side effects of the internet age. 7 side effects I've identified. The first one everybody knows, and most of you are quite experienced about this one, is digital addiction. It is very strong phenomenon. Not as much in America as it is in Korea, number one, in number of people digitally addicted. Japan is number 2, and China is coming in a big way. In China, people go, adults, young adults, to a cafe, a cyber cafe. They don't have access to PC or cell phones, they have it, but nothing else. They go to play the games. They're so competitive in game playing, they don't want to take time away, like a gambling essentially. You don't want to take time away from the table, or in this case the screen. So they wear diapers. So they don't have to get us to go to the bathroom. Think about it. They wear their pants. Chinese government is so worried about this one that they actually have detoxification centers next to the cyber cafe. So digital addiction is a phenomenon outside of this country, especially in Asia, and we are learning how to manage that pretty much because it is a very destructive habit in some fashion. So technology has its own side effects, which is creating again disruption, but also opportunities. I would say watch social media. Plenty of jobs will be opportunities in this whole digital world, from doing software and hardware. STEM programs will be encouraged more and more, and in fact STEM programs will be allowed now if you are a foreigner, 3 years of work permit essentially, which is again very helpful to get into what is called the optional training program, OPT. So some of you have come as H1 visa, your children will be going through that. So it's another area. So technology is the second major driver. The third major driver, surprisingly, is the rise of emerging markets. Nobody imagined China would be number 1 consumer in the marketplace for all luxury brands. It is number 1 in the automobile. It is number 1 in appliances. Anything you say, which is the biggest market in the world, the right answer is China. India is number 2 in many markets, especially in cell phones, for example, but also appliances like washing machines, refrigerators, all this stuff. Automobile is a little slow, less than that, pretty much. They're not number 2, number 3, but further down. But these are the markets, which is a key consequence, which is another opportunity for careers sustainability. The earth is just not having enough renewable resources. We have exploited so much that to renew itself, we have to slow down the use of the earth materials, whether it's oil on the one hand, or iron on the other hand, or any industrial raw material, copper, etc. And that is another key change. So these 2 countries, and Africa is rising at the same time, they all want to become modern, branded, middle-class consumers, which means they buy things rather than make things at home. And we are very much worried about the sustainability. The rate of consumption will require at least 2.5 equal to Earth's resources planet. It's not sustainable. Neither technology nor capital will slow down the growth, and therefore more and more sustainability aspects will come from emerging markets. China, for example, will actually have all electric vehicles mandated in about 2-3 years. You might know that a brand name called Volvo. Volvo is owned by a Chinese company, and Volvo, in anticipation of mandatory electric cars or vehicles in China, has announced that 2020 models, which will be this year or next year, whatever they calculate, will be all electric cars. Porsche just came out with an electric car. Every luxury brand is going, because the largest luxury brand for automobile is China, is now getting into EV. US may not be the leader in the sustainability movement. Sustainability movement is creating enormous job opportunities and careers. And in this particular case, it is much more likely to happen this year, because the largest investor into markets, primarily called Blackstone, announced that unless the company that they invest in is what's called ESG, environment, society, and governance are the 3 things, which means you go beyond profit motive per se to serve the society, which is again a Jainism principle, no matter how you look at it. So in many ways, that's the third area, rise of the emerging market and its consequences in terms of disruption on the one hand and opportunities on the other hand. Last area is very critical. So this gives you opportunities, and then I'll talk about the opportunities in a moment, and that is the whole geopolitics. President Trump is on his way to India, 2 days of summit. This will be more historic than any other previous visits by any president from America. I already wrote an op-ed on Friday. It's already published out there in a newspaper or a magazine called The Outlook, which is pretty important in terms of an opinion making. For the first time, America needs India more than India needs America. Absolutely incredible. Yes, precisely. And that is a power change. Now you are on an equal level. We need each other. So partnership is only possible when you have an equality of power on both sides, so you can negotiate properly, interdependence kind of stuff. So watch all the announcements that comes about out of this 2-day summit over there, which will be more a business summit than just a cultural visit. So saying, you know, I'm the largest democracy, you are the oldest democracy, we have something in common. That slogan is so worn out now. I publicly criticized to say, let's just not use that anymore, okay? It's nice to ambassadors talking about the whole thing. All of these primarily concludes the following. In addition to the traditional occupations, which I will define in a moment, there is a significant opportunity for entrepreneurship. And many of your younger colleagues might be actually taking TYE university classes, learning how to become entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurship will rise because opportunities are rising. Think about that. In the geopolitical world, public policy will become very critical, so some of you may think about going and doing work for a non-profit in some fashion, either a government, a World Bank, or IMF. You may even aspire to be part of the State Department, a diplomatic, you are a US citizen, so diplomatic corps, for example. Or if you are of Indian origin, then in the Foreign Affairs Ministry, trying their examinations. Very important area. And we are very well getting integrated in this country into the legal profession. Please remember, in the current campaign in politics among the Democratic side, every one of the major Democratic candidates, their key campaign manager is of Indian origin. Think about that. So we have wired ourselves, young people have wired into the political arena, learning how to campaign, become politicians themselves. You know, there are quite a few good Indians competing for seats at the mayor level. Quite a few cities' mayors are of Indian origin. I was in California last week, Madhu and I were there, and we found that the city of Cerritos, which is where it's like a little India, the mayor was of Indian origin. Interesting. It's going to happen here in the Gwinnett County someplace. Please watch that. It is happening in Texas. It's happening in New Jersey. Canada, by the way, is fascinating. Out of the ministers of the cabinet, Trudeau government, 3 ministers are of Indian origin. There is one Sikh gentleman, I think, who is a defense minister or something. that goes on, it is going to happen here also. So we have whole career outside the business world primarily that you want to think about. The job opportunities will be, as I said, something to do with the healthcare. And you don't have to be a doctor anymore. There are more opportunities. Biggest shortage in this country in healthcare is nurses. They will need about 1 million nurses, and there is not enough schools or colleges to prepare for you for nursing career, which Indians usually don't do. But remember, the best nurses in the world come from where? Kerala. Because of the Christian faith there, which encourages nursing as an occupation for women. And those nurses are very well respected all over the world, especially in Gulf countries, in India of course. And now they are invited more and more to come to this country. Special immigration will be created after the immigration reforms, so you will see more presence of that kind. So healthcare is clearly one area. Digital technology and everything that has to do, software primarily, but hardware also. So if you want to be more in the engineering category, don't do mechanical engineering, please, or industrial engineering, which is what we did in our days. I did not, but people of my generation. The next one is more electronics and much more software. Third area, as I mentioned, is public service. Public service is a large opportunity, and some of you will say, I don't work like my parents did, money-making enterprises. I would like to serve the society. There's no better opportunity today than in my generation. In my generation, we struggled with constraints. We had no choices. We would have too many choices. Opportunities is a nice thing to have, but it's also a creation of a problem at the same time, which means you have to learn on your own how to reduce those choices, make the right choices right now. That's one more area. Now, I'll simply summarize because we have a great panel, we have very specific information and advice for many of the occupations where they have come through experiences. So I'll just conclude last video, and then if you have a Q&A, I can actually take some questions depending on the time. First thing I would advise is that look into a MOOC, as we call it, open architecture. Courses are free. One MOOC which is very important to watch is Coursera. If you have any passion about anything you want to do, there is enough things on Coursera to say, let me take the course just to see whether I like it or not. This is a way to reduce the choices. You may say, I want to be a doctor, and then they might have courses on how to become a physician, and you basically say, this is not what excites me anymore. As many college graduates who come to colleges like UGA or Emory, which are medical schools, they go into pre-med, in the second year they decide that's not what they want to do, they change their mind. This will be preparing for you of what you will experience when you go to college after admission. You can preempt a lot of choices. So I would say Coursera. There's a counterpart, another MOOC called edX. Just search for those, everything is free. And I would add on top of that, if you really wanted to know more about the world today, there is no platform better than YouTube. But don't watch those cats jumping, etc. Don't watch those comedians. There's so much of good content on YouTube also. So it keeps elderly population like me engaged in the society, because we can watch YouTube forever, for other stuff. But I think at the same time, very young people like you can get into that benefit. So watch YouTube, but from a college career point of view, college and then career, watch edX where you will be taking classes, because that will tell you whether you like it or not. Do what you are passionate about. This is where you will have a conflict in the family. Parents would like you to do one thing, and basically you hate that thing. Parents may want you to be a CPA, chartered accountant. Among Gujaratis and Rajasthanis, that's popular. Parents may want you to be an engineer, for example. They want you to be a medical doctor because they think those are the occupations where you will have livelihood, you don't have to depend on anybody. But if that's not your passion, don't do it. Anything, an occupation you do with no passion is a burnout. You have more stress, you will give up on that one, you will not do well. So passion is a foundation. And opportunities are so many, you need to reduce those opportunities by experiencing this passion. My second advice, which is very important, please be independent of your parents now. especially moms. Every college student, when he or she goes and has to live in a dorm, cannot manage it. They have an anxiety attacks. They are stressful. Those moms protect you all the time, which is their job. But moms have to learn to make you independent. You are 10th grade, 11th grade, to do your own stuff. Don't allow moms to make your bed. Don't allow moms to do your laundry. All of this you will end up doing it anyhow in college. So please be independent. Very important message, because if you mess up your first semester, definitely first year in a college, you will never make it up. Remember, you are aspiring to go to top universities. Admission is so high. And there is nothing but just study, study, study. From middle school to high school, which you have just come in, you think high school is much tougher. College will be even more. It just escalates. You don't have enough time, you have too many assignments. There is no, and so that's the second one. Third recommendation, do part-time job now. That'll make you humble. There's nothing that'll make you more humble than being a server in a restaurant. You have to learn how to take all the abuse, and you will get that abuse in the society. So we live in a bubble world, not a real world. We are relatively well educated, we are relatively wealthy in some fashion, we are more professional class, and you will have to deal with people who are your customers as working class. They bring all of their stresses when they come to the restaurant or when they come to any place. It's a public, it's shopping center. How do you deal with people? You learn it now, not students, because they're very comparable to you are, but people who are in the other socioeconomic classes. The more you learn how to deal with them at a shopping center, store, or at a restaurant. Restaurant would be the best test whether you can make it or not, because that is where you will know, are you flexible enough to adapt yourself, to change. And you will have to adapt whether you like it or not. So that's the third recommendation. Fourth recommendation is, have something that you believe in. Preferably principles of Jainism. Doesn't matter. You have to have an inner strength to stand up and say, no matter what of the choices I have out there, there are certain things that I will never deviate from my belief system. Vegetarianism is one of them, for example. Drinking alcohol is another one, because those opportunities will arise, but you have to have your own choice, which says also that the friend's influence or social media influence, nobody else can regulate or control, then you can do it yourself. Put that habit now as much as possible. Because once you go to college, the freedom will be enormous. Too many social activities, too many social engagements, and then you will find, we get students from India, for example, first time they come here, they come from wealthy families, private university, and they find too many choices, and they go in the wrong direction. Especially if they join NYU. Because New York is a place where anything you want to do, you can do it, right? And therefore, quite often we get the NYU students transitioning over here at Emory, because we have a little more protective environment. Maybe the ecosystem of friends and colleagues is very different, but it is very much something that nobody else will control your choice making except you yourself. You'll have to learn how to do that right, because you'll have just too many opportunities. At the same time, you cannot be strictly a nerd. On the campus, if you're a nerd, you will be more isolated than in high school. Okay? So you have to go out of your way to engage into social activities. Most Indian kids, when they go to colleges like UGA or Georgia Tech or Emory, Bhangra seems to be the next somehow they bond with Bhangra, it looks like. I just got some text message of some Indian parent. Mom is so proud that her girl, her daughter, actually has been on some competition, saying, I just want to share with you, Professor Sheth, how proud I am of my daughter who is doing Bhangra, some competitions she has won, which is great. So, but I'm telling you, have a social life at the same time. And balancing that social life along with study life will be very critical. The more you learn now, better off the more you will succeed in college, which is a necessary condition to have a career sometime later on. I've taken more time than I was allocated. I told my host that, look, I'm the guy like an old computer with vacuum tubes, you know. It takes a little while to warm up. How you like it? So it takes a while for me to warm up basically, and then eventually I deliver whatever I can. So bear with me. I'm here as a resource anytime in the session, but outside the session, call me up, drop me a note, meet with me, however you want to do. I'm at your disposal and your service. Thank you very much.
That was great. Thank you, Jagdish. I know this was a phenomenal 30 minutes, I guess. So anyway, now that we are done with the keynote, Narendra bhai, if you'd like to take the program forward, please.
I am not going to take much of your time. My name is Narendra Shah, originally from Bombay. I have a MBA and BBA from Texas, MCA and BCom from India. So I've been there, done that. I just want to introduce the moderator of the day, Purvi Shah. To talk about Purvi, I'm going to introduce her in a different way. She's a project manager, but I'll just say P. P stands for powerful, U stands for unique, R stands for rigorous, V stands for victorious, I stands for inspiring. So Purvi has been a YGP member, a project manager in Signa Technologies. Let us give a big hand to Purvi and call her here. Purvi.
Thank you, Narendra. That was a very interesting introduction. Thank you. And I also want to thank Jagdish for that brilliant talk as well. I feel like you've said it all. I don't know what we're going to say extra to add to this. But hi, everyone. My name is Purvi Shah. If you haven't met me before, it's probably because I'm new to Atlanta. I've only moved here about 2 years ago, and I'm excited now to be involved in JSGA a little bit more. I'm also a YJP member. I'm a regional coordinator for Atlanta for YJP, which if you don't know is Young Jane Professionals. It's one step above YJA. So after you turn 21 or after you're done with your college, that's usually where like people go to network and continue their Jane networking for later on as well. So I have a few members here that I've met through YJP and otherwise, right, that I want to introduce to you for our panel. So I'm going to bring them up. First up, I'm going to call Mitesh Shah. And I'm going to ask him to introduce himself, just a quick tidbit about himself. And I'm sure you might have already seen his bio around there, certain emails as well. So we're not going to go too deep into that, but introduce yourself and tell us a fun fact about yourself.
Hi everyone, Mitesh Shah. I'm a senior manager with Productivity and Data and Analytics. Fun fact about myself, I was on a Nickelodeon kids show called Wild and Crazy Kids. This was probably before all of you were born, definitely, in like mid-90s at some point, but some of these guys may know what the show is. That's my fun fact.
We're going to find that video later.
I look for it.
All right, next I'm going to call upon Saloni Desai.
Hi, my name is Saloni Desai. Currently, I'm an entrepreneur. I have a few startups in the interior design world and LED industry and expanding on all of that. Fun fact about me, I like to travel 2 to 3 different countries I've never been to every year. So it's a good goal to have. I think it broadens your horizons and it's fun, so yeah.
Where did you recently go? Please don't say China.
I went to India. Before that, I was in Finland, Denmark, and Russia.
All right, next I'm going to call upon Dr. Jinan Shah.
Hey everyone, my name is Jinan Shah. I'm a practicing optometrist here in the Decatur area. I'm expecting to open my own private practice in East Cobb in June. So very excited for that. And fun fact about me, I taught myself how to play guitar.
All right, next I'm going to call upon Dr. Pratisha.
Good afternoon. My name is Kruti Shah, and I'm a clinical pharmacist specialist in drug information and drug policy development. And so that really probably means nothing to you guys. But what I really do is for the health system I work with is I manage drug shortages that you probably see commercials for all the time, or as a parent, and then if you go to the pharmacy and they're like, oh, I don't have this drug, and come up with solutions for that. So I work behind the scenes for that, and then I help determine which medications we use in our health system as well. Fun fact about me, this is kind of boring, but I'm a mom to two 3-year-old twin girls.
And last but not least, I'm going to call upon Sanisha.
Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Sunny Shaw. I'm an immigration staff attorney here at a nonprofit called Asian Americans Advancing Justice. I'm also new to the area. I've been here since August, so it's nice to come here and meet a lot of you. A fun fact about me is I've been vegan for 2 years, and I also have a cat who's vegan.
Awesome. So before we start, just with a quick show of hands, how many here are high school students? Okay, cool. How many middle school students? Oh, awesome, cool. Any college students here? No? Okay. And how many parents do we have here? Awesome. So thanks obviously for joining everyone. As you guys all know, this event is for our students, and so we'd love to hear from you guys, and we'd love to answer any parents' questions as well that you guys have from your perspective. But of course, let's make this a very interactive and engaging session, right? We're not here to just give you a long, drawn-out, boring speech or a presentation, right? We want to have a very interactive session. So the way we're going to structure it is that I have some prepared questions that I'm going to ask the panelists. So we're going to spend about 30 minutes on that. And then the next 30 minutes is the main part of the panel, in which I'm going to open it up for questions from you guys so that we can, like I said, have an engaging dialogue back and forth. Sound good? Okay, great. And one more thing before we start, you might also see that we have 5 specific, career paths represented on this panel today. And even if you're not interested in these 5 specific career paths, that's totally okay. I think the questions that we've come up with are general enough to where you can still get some general advice and guidance for your future career path, regardless of where it could take you. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so we'll start with some quick questions. Like I said, I have some prepared, and then at the end we'll start the open forum where you can ask your own questions. But as we're going through these discussions, keep those things in the back of your head so we can start that conversation early, okay? So let me start with the first question. I'm going to go down here the panel, and these microphones are on.
We could just use one.
Yeah, we just have.
Okay. There we go. Okay, so my first question for you guys was, let's start with something very general. What does your typical workday look like? And what's one cool or interesting aspect of your career or your workday or your work lifestyle that you want to share?
I'll go first. So working at a nonprofit, we provide pro bono or low bono legal advice for people who don't have the money to really spend towards immigration benefits. So no workday is really the same for me. It just depends on the type of clients we have coming in. Mainly we have someone come in who's probably seeking asylum or seeking some sort of immigration benefit, who will offer a free consultation for it and then pretty much come up with some relief that they have. On another day, we'll go to a detention center and meet with someone that's been detained by the government for coming to the country illegally. Another day, we'll go to court and try to fight for someone to get out of detention. So pretty much, it's, every day is different. Some of the challenges for us though is, obviously the current political climate is really tough for immigration with our president, so we do have a hard fight. Also, Atlanta is the toughest immigration court in the nation, so we don't win a lot of our cases. But yeah, that's pretty much like a typical day for us.
So similar to Sunny, I guess I don't have a typical day either for the most part. So a lot of my interactions on a daily basis are with other physicians or other pharmacists within our health system or other nurses. So as I mentioned, drug shortages is probably one of the biggest things that I do on a daily basis. And so learning so in order to determine how to manage those drug shortages, I work with different people from our IT department to realize what our utilization is for a medication within the health system and how we're going to adjust that, and then working with the physicians to come up with those alternate plans will be to take care of our patients on a daily basis. A lot of things that I do are also behind the scenes with our technology, and so I really get involved in developing the way medications are ordered within our electronic health record system. So I work very closely with our IT department in doing that. And so I may not be as close to making a patient level interaction on a daily basis, but I'm helping more behind the scenes globally. So for a patient that's diabetic, I'm working to develop how, like guideline based, we're translating that into our electronic health record and working with our providers. So as updates are made, changes are made, we're making those updates within that as new medications are made available. Not a typical pharmacist role. I didn't know that this job existed when I was in high school or even started pharmacy school, so I think it's just very great that you guys are getting this exposure now to learn that there's a lot more opportunities and a lot of things that you can even do within one pharmacist field.
Yeah, so my typical day usually starts around 9 o'clock. I get in, I have patients scheduled, sometimes emergencies walk in. I do about 50% of just like glasses and contacts and your traditional, what you guys, most of you guys are wearing glasses now. But then the other half of the time there's emergencies that are coming in, people that do construction work, they're getting metallic foreign bodies into their eye, we're performing a lot of procedures. So it's a good mix. You have to have really good problem solving skills and critical thinking. Get done around 5, 6 o'clock, and then the other part is I'm opening a new practice. So with that, all of this digital marketing skills, so you guys are probably experts more than I am on like social media and stuff, and I'm having to learn all that stuff to get things going, learning how to create an LLC and how to become an entrepreneur. So just doing that right now as well.
So my background's in engineering and manufacturing, and so what I'm doing now is kind of in tune with that. And so I work in the hospitality industry, and if you know anything about that, it's constantly evolving. The standards are always changing, which makes it very exciting for me. My personality type is not one to get complacent, so I think that the industry I'm in is perfect for me. And as I mentioned, I'm also getting into LED industry, so that specifically is because of my own personal motives. I want to do something that I think will be giving back to the environment, which is kind of what inspired me to pursue that, and that also involves a lot of the manufacturing and supply chain expertise, which is my background. But I think the fact that my day isn't typical is what excites me, and that's what drives me. I think that once you become idle or become too much structured is when you're losing out on potential growth. So as you guys are all high schoolers and you're choosing a career track, I would say don't get too hung up on, Dr. Junko was saying, on what your parents expect or what is the appropriate track to take. Kind of go after what you're passionate about, what interests you, because it's still so early on. I change my mind all the time, and what I'm doing now for work, I'm learning something new every day. So that's kind of the best advice that I could offer.
So I have 2 different days, depending on whether I'm traveling to a work client or if I'm in my office here in Atlanta. So if I'm at a client, one of the main things that I have to do is I have to build a relationship. And building a relationship is not only talking about work, but also talking about people's lives, what their life is outside of work, because that's how you can build a trust with them. And so I try to, when I'm at a client, I'll go talk to people, just see how they're doing. We'll talk about work, but we'll also talk about other stuff. And then at this level of my career, I'm always in meetings. I'm sure your parents who work out there in technology would agree with that as well. So there's a lot of meetings that go on where we cycle through different projects. When I'm in the office here, one of the key roles I take on hand is mentoring our young students out of high school or out of college that have started working. Because when you first start a job, it's scary. You walk in, are you expected to know everything under the sun? No, we as employers, we understand that. And you have to help mentor them, because sometimes as young people come in, they think that they should know something right away, and that's not the case. And so you shouldn't worry about that if you do worry about that whenever you start working.
Awesome. So before we move further, does everyone have a good idea of what everyone does here on the panel? Does anybody have questions or clarifications you might need before we go deeper about what they do? Okay. Either you guys are really smart, because I definitely didn't know what any of these careers meant when I was your age, or you guys are lying to me. Anyway, we'll keep going.
Are you guys comfortable with the way you're going?
All right, cool. Remember, it's supposed to be interactive and engaging, so if you guys want me to change up anything, we'll do that. If you guys want to do bungalow moves later, we'll do that too. Okay? Okay, so why don't we start backwards this time, right? Mitesh, if you want to answer the next question. So we want to hear, we heard about where you are now in your career, so we want to hear about how did you get here, right? What were some of the drivers and reasons that motivated you to be where you are today, or even to be in the particular job or career path that you're in today?
That's a wild story. Do we have enough time for this? No, as Uncle was saying earlier, when I started college, I actually wanted to be a CPA. And that was my choice. I love math. I'm good at math. It was always my interest. Problem solving, that type of thing. And I wanted to be a CPA, and my dad, who is a CPA, and my two older sisters are also CPA. My dad's like, no, don't be a CPA. My dad's not a practicing CPA, and actually my sisters now are not practicing CPAs either. And my dad, then I was like, I don't know what to do. My dad's like, oh, do computer science. And I was like, oh man, I don't know if I want to do that. But, being a good son, I listened to my parents. And, I was in computer science. And one of the things, sometimes in computer science, it gets lonely because you're coding a lot. You're just staring at a computer screen. And I did not enjoy it, because I like to think I'm a social person. I like to interact with people. And so probably 2.5 years into computer science, I had to have a difficult conversation with my parents that, look, I'm not enjoying this. I don't know if I want to do it long term, and so it was tough, but I was lucky that the college I was at, I had a close friend who also changed majors from computer science. She went into nursing, so she completely went the other way. I went to information systems management, which was still related. All my classes, credits passed over. So there was I didn't lose any credits that way, so my parents were happy with that. But actually, and so I was in information systems, which is actually on the business side. And then as I went through that, I actually took a whole bunch of real estate classes, and I got a double degree in finance, which I enjoyed that a lot. And out of college, I interviewed with a couple consulting firms, and I knew I wanted to get into consulting, because through consulting you get a grand exposure to technologies, people, industries, and you're not just into one silo, one area.
Mitesh, can you explain what consulting is? On a high level.
Consulting is, many companies, Coca-Cola, Home Depot, they have issues. Sometimes they don't have the knowledge in-house to solve those issues, so they use a firm that's dedicated in that industry to get help. And so I go to clients, I talk to them, I do the work, exactly what they need, and I help them grow, and then I go on to the next client. Is that good? I think I'm talking too much. So then what I do now is more on the engineering side. So I actually did come back to engineering. I do a lot of coding now, but I still get to talk to people, so it's more fun now.
Thank you. And so yeah, like I did, right? If you guys hear a term that you don't understand, please raise your hand. Because for us, it might be very general knowledge to know some of these words, but it may not be the same thing for you. So if you don't understand something, just tell us and we'll clarify.
So kind of like Mitesh, I actually started out pursuing the medical field, and I was a pre-med student, just like I guess most Indian students, either math or science, right? But interestingly enough, before I went to Georgia Tech, I got a full ride to SCAD. I was always an art student, loved art, everything. I was so passionate about it from a very young age. I get that from my mother. I'm very proud of that. Because just so you know, fast forward this many years, what I'm doing now is actually pursuing my passion in art. And every day I think like I wake up thinking I'm so blessed to be able to do that, to have that skill and get the opportunity to pursue it. But anyway, so I went to Tech. I was like, I'm going to do biomedical engineering, do pre-med, sounds perfect, and it's stable, like I'm going to have a great career. But I started doing rotations at hospitals and clinics, and I was like, oh man, this is not for me. It's more of like, we were talking about earlier, it has to be your passion. And I realized that, as much as I thought that I would love to help people, and this is the best way to do it, my personality type was just not fit for that career, and I wasn't happy. So, I pursued industrial engineering, because I was like, well, it's not science and math. But luckily, I loved what I did in industrial engineering. I specialized in supply chain and then pursued internships in that. So even once I picked a major, I wasn't sure, like, hey, what is the exact field and what do I want to do after I graduate? So internships and co-ops and all those work experiences I started my summer after freshman year is honestly the reason that I landed my first job at Coca-Cola. And going to Coke, working there in a rotational program, again, I was able to kind of dissect, okay, within supply chain manufacturing, what specifically do I like? And so I think those formative years working in like a corporate setting is very important, and I think that where I am now is definitely a byproduct of that experience. I went to Coke, I worked at Home Depot headquarters, and I think what you learn in corporate America is always going to be applicable to even when you start your own business or wherever you end up, work at a startup, and so I'm very blessed for that. But once I was in that environment, I realized that if I don't work hard to build my own dreams, someone will just hire me to help build theirs. And so that's kind of why I am pursuing the track I am now. Of course, I will say I can't do that without my support system. So like to all you high schoolers and middle schoolers, I say early on, get a right mentor, have people who can advise you, use your resources at school, like your career advisors, and even people who are like in your gym community, people that you look up to, ask their advice, because that is the best way you're going to get ahead. Like I rely heavily on my dad, my best mentor, and I'm so lucky to have him because I learn from him day to day, and I think he's the reason that I'm successful, and I have no, I'm humble enough to admit that I can't be here without his help. And even Jagdish Uncle, he's one of my biggest mentors and my guidance in pursuing my MBA, which I'm doing now. And so I think that it's good to build that foundation of the right people early on, because that's what's going to help you.
So when I was in high school, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. I got into college, had no idea what I wanted to do. And junior year came around, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something a little more healthcare related. I was just fascinated by it. I had been wearing glasses and contacts since I was a kid. I'm very nearsighted. And my dad was diagnosed with glaucoma, so that was something I always researched on. My mom always told me I needed to eat badam and kaju, so I would not have to wear glasses anymore, so I wanted to prove her wrong. She was right. But long story short, I just did research. I read, I think I took a career aptitude test, and optometry came up number 3. Number one was clown. So I almost became a clown. But then I just researched it. I looked, I mean, there's so many resources. You guys have everything at the, in your cell phone. You can just look up stuff. Every week I was just like trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I really liked this field. One thing I like is there's a business aspect to things, and my family is full of businessmen, so and women. So I was, wanting to do something that sort of has that business aspect, and so I sort of just kept going down the path.
So my reasoning's a little bit different. So I'm a younger sibling. I have an older sister that's 4 years older, and so she gave me a lot of advice and guidance. So the first thing for me was that I wanted to move away for college, but I was very nervous about how my parents would let me do this. So my sister, I was raised in Kentucky. My sister was all set to go to school at University of Pittsburgh. Went and did orientation, registered for classes. 1 week before she was about to move in, my dad pulled the plug. And she ended up going to the university in our hometown. And so, very unfortunate for my sister. My dad still says it to this day, I regret not letting you go early on, but then he didn't want to make that same mistake with me. I was a little bit wiser. I didn't choose a school that was 8 hours away. I chose one that was 2 hours away. And then also made some, okay, I'll come home every weekend. And I also kind of described him. I was like, University of Kentucky, it has the #3 pharmacy school in the nation right now. Like, I need to go there for my undergraduate degree or pre-pharmacy studies in order to be able to be accepted there. Whether that's true or not, it's really not, because there were plenty of people in my pharmacy school class that did not do their pre-pharmacy studies there. I had 2 older cousins that were also pharmacists. However, at this time, the state of the pharmacy world was also changing. So before you could actually get a bachelor's degree in a pharmacy program, at this point in the early 2000s, when pharmacy actually changed to becoming a doctorate program regardless. And so there were a lot of pharmacists within that generation that were changing from pursuing a bachelor's degree that you could get in 4 years versus a doctorate program that would be at minimum 6 years. And I knew I wanted to do something in the healthcare field. However, I knew I couldn't do medicine or be a physician. Just the thought of taking anatomy and physiology and cutting something open, seeing blood gush out, was not for me. But I could look at a pill. I liked the chemistry. I liked looking at the structures and learning those things. And so my reason for pursuing pharmacy is probably not the best, but then, like I said earlier, I really didn't know all the avenues that were available with the pharmacy career. And even still to this day, you could be a pharmacist, but then there's plenty of pharmacists that are working on the business side. You can have an independent pharmacy. There's dual degree programs with PharmDs and JDs, MPH, Juris Doctorate actually even. So there's so many other options. And then even after pharmacy school was complete, I know we typically think of, there's 2 options. You either see the retail pharmacist or the hospital pharmacist, but even within that, I wasn't exposed to what a hospital pharmacist did until my 4th year of pharmacy school when I'm doing my rotations. And just learning that it's not just the physician, no offense to any physicians that are in the room, but it's not the physicians that are making decisions for these patients, and they really do rely heavily on the pharmacists that are involved in patients' care. And so during my 4th year of pharmacy school, I decided to pursue additional clinical training, which we call a pharmacy residency. And so a lot of the pharmacy profession is modeled behind the medical profession. So of course, you go to medical school and you have to pursue at least at minimum a 3-year residency before you would be in practice. So pharmacy has also developed a similar path. So when I graduated over 10 years ago, you could get away with just doing a 1-year pharmacy residency and being able to pursue a clinical process in a hospital setting. However, now, most people do 2nd-year residency, and so the 2nd year is specialties that you hear of physicians, so in critical care, pulmonary, and emergency medicine, and pediatrics, oncology. So a lot of pharmacy professions now will pursue, so even after pharmacy school, you're still pursuing 2 additional years of specialized training. But there's also fellowships that you can pursue within industry and pharmaceutical industry, so there's a lot of options even afterwards. And so I pursued a 1-year pharmacy residency. I've worked as a clinical pharmacist in a few different health settings and I was mainly in direct patient care until the past 2 years, where I've moved into more of an administrative type position where this drug information and drug policy development works. I think I used a lot more probably understandable terminology, but I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
All right, so I would say my motivation in getting into immigration law was pretty much my story as an immigrant. So Gina and I, my brother, we came into the country when I was 5 months old, and he was like 2.5. And we didn't know that was gonna be, make such a difference on our lives until we applied for a driver's license. We couldn't get one. We applied for scholarships. We couldn't get any of that. Just growing up and learning, like crap, this is gonna affect us this way. So how many of you know which country has the most applicants for permanent residency in the United States, for green cards in the United States? India, right? India. So India has the worst backlog in immigration. So what that means is people are having to wait up until 20, 25 years for them to actually get their green card. So we've been living in this country for almost 25 years, and we were just granted our permanent residency status this past year. So just growing up with that, it really kind of pushed me to go into immigration, just seeing the effect it had on us and our family. Another thing that a lot of people might know is that there's people called notarios out there, which are people that aren't licensed to be attorneys, but practice immigration law. And a lot of people fall for this trick because of language barriers. So for example, you'll have someone who speaks Spanish only, doesn't speak any English, and someone at their church says, oh, I know someone that can help you with your immigration case. And they'll go to this person who has no law degree, has no experience with immigration, and try to do this for them. And most of the time, they screw up their entire application so bad that it becomes fraudulent, which causes more problems for them in the future when they try to do it illegally. So we actually had an attorney do that to us, so that set us back another step. So mainly the reason why I wanted to go into a nonprofit is to provide these low bono or pro bono, which means like free or like low fee cases, is so that we can help people like that, try to cut that language barrier to help people that need it really. So that's the main reason why I got into immigration law, and I love it. I've been working here for 8 months now, and it's been great.
That's awesome. Anybody have any questions? Yeah, so one thing, if you guys notice, right, majority of the panelists here, they kind of stumbled upon their career, right? And that's totally okay. I think I've said this before, but we live in a country where we have so many opportunities and so many choices, and the freedom to even change our minds so often, right? And so we need to take advantage of that, whether it be through the classes that you take in high school or college, or through the internships or part-time jobs that you take up, or be it through, people like these that are coming to speak to you, right? You might not know what everything there is out there, but at least now you have some idea of, where you want to see yourself later on. And even if you think you know what you want right now, but 2 years later you want to change that up, that's totally okay as well. But it's very important to be where, like Jagdish and Uncle said, it's very important to do something or be somewhere that you're passionate about. And it might take some time to find that passion, and that's totally okay as well. Okay. So for this next question, we'll start in the middle, Regina, and then go down. What's one challenging aspect of your career, and how have you overcome it, or how are you trying to overcome it?
Yeah, so this doesn't work. Okay, yeah, it's working, I'm sorry. So yeah, I'm dealing with a few challenges right now, and most of it is regarding patients and their compliance issues, or it will be insurance panels and how right now a lot of patients have high deductible plans. So in addition to like I was saying, I do glasses and contacts, but I also deal with a lot of emergency visits. So a patient will come in, let's say I'm diagnosing them with mild glaucoma, which is a blinding condition if it's not treated, if your eye pressure gets too high. So with glaucoma, the treatment can start off being really simple, one job at nighttime, to going up to 4 or 5 different jobs. In the US, medicine compliance is so low, patients are missing their jobs half the time. They're not keeping their pressures under control, and they keep losing their sight. So that's one thing that we have to always educate these patients, because even though they're diagnosed with glaucoma and they still have most of their vision, it's getting lower and worse and worse. And I'm seeing it on my scans but they're not realizing it in real life because they're stuck in front of a computer and they can see their computer. Another issue I have is, something as simple as contact lenses. People are overwearing and sleeping in them. So another recent thing I had, a 14-year-old girl comes in and her eyes red, there's some discharge. I look in there and first question, are you wearing contacts? She says, yes. I was like, do you sleep in them? Yes. That same day, treated her, came back, best vision she'll ever have in that eye is 2100. So that means she lost 80 feet of vision essentially. So those are a lot of the challenges that I deal with, not just dealing with, getting people seeing clearly, which is great, or giving a kid their first pair of glasses and they can see the leaves on trees, but then telling people, you're going to be almost blind the rest of your life in one eye, or you have a degenerative condition that's going to lead to blindness. So that's something that you really got to think about if you want to do the medical field, is sometimes you can save a life or save vision or do something really great, but at other times you have to tell them bad news and it's really tough.
Always have the mic issues. For me, I think the main challenge right now is while I'm building the startups and trying to scale them and also kind of help take over my father's company, is switching the train of thought. He's a little bit more traditional in how he's practiced business. He's grown word of mouth, which is very impressive. And that is never going to go honestly out of practice of building your business word of mouth and getting one person you do a good job for to recommend you to 3 more people. So that's always going to be valid. But what I'm learning now is like, okay, I need to be an expert, at least know who to hire who's an expert in the field of branding and marketing. So for me, since I'm an engineer, I don't have that background. And so one of the reasons I'm doing my MBA is so that I can be learning those foundational core concepts and apply that to my business real time. So I would say finance, accounting, marketing, all these things are constantly evolving. And so for me to get the formal education is helping me. But since it's out of my comfort zone, it's a little bit of a challenge. As I do find it exciting though, so I kind of want to let you know that even though you're high schoolers, you're going to go to college, pick a track, probably go to grad school. But for me, the thing that drives me and I believe in is you're going to be a student for life. So even once you're established and you have a great company, you work for a great company, like you're constantly going to be learning something new, and that's honestly, that's probably how it should be. And that's going to drive your success and growth too in your career path. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Compared to you guys, I don't have any issues. My work life is great. No, I mean, for the most part, I deal with clients. Most of my pains are dealing with them, helping them understand. Sometimes they want to do something with technology and it just doesn't work the way they want it to, and it might take a little bit longer to make it work the way they want it to. It's just helping them understand that type of thing. But yeah, life is good.
You're so lucky. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, they're all awake. They're doing good.
Let me try to get some juices flowing, hopefully. Jane, a question for you. Could you explain to the kids, especially, the difference between an optometrist, what they do, versus an ophthalmologist, perhaps?
Yeah, really good question. It actually goes back to when I was trying to figure out what to do. So in the eye field, there's 3 professions. There's the optician. They're more inclined to fit you in glasses, pick out good lens materials. They adjust the frames and do that form of thing. There's the optometrist, where we're basically the primary care. So think of like your PCP that you go for your routine health checkup. They take your blood pressure, they make sure everything's good. All of a sudden, they found something that might be a tumor, or that might be high blood pressure and it's a heart problem. Then they'll send you to a surgeon or someone that's more of a specialist. So with the eye itself is so it's so complex. Each part of the eye has its own specialist. So I sort of have to learn every little part about the eye to be able to pick up what it is and treat it before it gets bad. So things like diabetic retinopathy, things like glaucoma, early macular degeneration, I can actually do treatments in office. I can stop it from getting worse. But that's if patients are coming in and I'm seeing them regularly. Then if it's not getting controlled and we can't stop it, then we have to go to a surgeon, which is mostly an ophthalmologist. So most ophthalmologists can do different types of surgeries. There's a glaucoma surgeon, a retina surgeon. These are just different parts of the eyes. So I have to first diagnose it because no one's coming in saying, oh, my eye hurts, I have glaucoma. They're coming in, my eye's blurry, I need glasses. I'm trying to give them glasses and it's not clear. So now that raises the hair on the back of my neck. So now I got to figure out what's going on, what part of the eye is messing up, what's your eye pressure, and then from there we have to come up with a treatment plan. So glaucoma and ophthalmologists and optometry have a mutual relationship to where they typically do the surgeries. So after cataract surgery, after some of the minor glaucoma surgeries, they send them back to the optometrist to monitor them, to keep checking the pressure, to keep checking the vision, and so forth. So that's how we sort of work together.
I would just add the training between the optometrist and the ophthalmologist is different as well. I'm married to an ophthalmologist, but so that for optometry, so kind of like pharmacy, you can either, for pharmacy actually you don't need an undergraduate degree, like so you don't need to have some sort of undergraduate degree before applying into pharmacy school. So I actually, like if pharmacy doesn't work out for me, I don't have a backup degree that I can like fall on. So luckily it did. But for optometry, right, so you do have an undergraduate degree, then you apply for optometry school and complete the optometry school. For ophthalmology, you complete an undergraduate degree, apply for medical school, and then complete ophthalmology residency after that. So the training is a little bit, and I don't know for
It's optional, the residencies for us. You don't have to do it. I did most of my rotations at a residency site in Atlanta, so I didn't feel the need to.
One challenging aspect.
So since I'm in the healthcare field as well, I feel like I echo a lot of Gina's same things as far as challenges. So as a pharmacist, compliance, when you ask the patient, how are you taking your medications? Are you really taking it twice a day because you haven't refilled this in 3 months? Are you like, so those types of things, and just really trying to get the patients to be real owners of their medical conditions. I think we live in a society right now, there's technology for this problem, this problem, this problem. Can you just fix it? Can you just make my blood pressure better? Can you just make my blood sugar better? But if patients don't take control of it themselves and getting them to understand the full ownership that they need, it's a two-way thing. Like we can only provide the medications to you, but you also have to make those changes. You also have to make those lifestyle changes as well.
Do you have a lie detector?
I wish we did. I wish it was a superpower where I could read their minds when they tell me, are you really taking it? But really just...
Cases of drug abuse or drug overuse. Do you see out of 10, 1, out of 100, 5? Like, if you have to put a ballpark figure.
So I also work at Grady Health System, and so the patient population we have there is very complex, and by the time they get to us for care, they are much more, they don't have a Band-Aid on their problem. They come in, unfortunately, very sick, and we have to, we just get the sick of the sickest patients there. So unfortunately, a lot of these questions about, how bad is their diabetes, how bad is their blood pressure, how bad is their pain. We have a very large sickle cell patient population, so these patients come in with a lot of pain. They take a lot of opioid medications to control their pain, but then it's finding that balance to be able to control that patient's pain, but then also not fueling something a little bit more. Do they really need that extra medication to get that high type of thing? But we do, unfortunately, it's gone up a lot more than I think it has in the past. And so there's, like Narcan is something that's available for these patients and their family members where they can keep it with them in case of an overdose or anything like that to really help save those patients' lives. And so I've been involved in programs of that too that we've been able to implement at Grady and for their patients and family members because of our health, like our patient population, the trauma, the neurosurgery, the burn patients that we treat. So Grady's the only hospital in the state of Georgia that has a burn center. And so some of these people come in with 90% of their body with burns. And so just the pain that they need and the care for these patients is very unique. Yes?
Probably a question for the whole panel. So Jagdish Shankar had mentioned part of the formula in terms of career planning and developing your overall path is having some part-time jobs and doing that early. So I wanted to just go across, what did you guys do for fun, or not fun, what did you do part-time in terms of at the high school level and also between summers? And then maybe touch a little bit about undergrad, but more interested about for the high schoolers here, kind of what did you do in terms of part-time work?
So growing up, my parents owned motels. So I was free labor. I did everything at a motel. Spring break, winter break, summers cleaning the pool, sweeping the parking lot. I've had to do everything at a motel. I've had to change, the little flushers in the toilet. I've had to do that, and I'm actually so grateful now that I didn't, because I own a home, and I just did it about 2 months ago. I didn't have to hire someone and pay them $50 to $100 to do it. I just got a piece from Home Depot and did it myself. I learned a lot to dealing with people, as Uncle was saying, because I also work the front desk, and you get every type of person that comes to a motel. And so that's my experience with it.
Yeah, if I can go next. I'll just hit on that. My parents also owned a hotel, and so I worked at their hotel and I worked at Mitesh's hotel as well. So I have experience in both of those areas. But yeah, in high school, that's pretty much all I did. I spent my time helping my parents on the weekend with hotel work. You do learn a lot of skills just meeting with customers, trying to solve their problems and making them happy. It does teach you a lot. On the side, I also volunteered at the hospital because they had like some teenage volunteer program that was really helpful as well. Because back in those days, the model myth minority was there where Indians just had to go into the medical field. So that's where my mind was there, so I volunteered at the hospital. But yeah, that's pretty much all I did as well.
Well, that's funny because I'm going to continue from there. I actually volunteered at Johns Creek Hospital when I was in high school, and it was the same concept. You kind of just are there to help out with anything they need. You do a lot of menial tasks, and as a high schooler, I was taking like APID classes. Like, I'm so much better than this. I can help out a lot more. Like, I'm smart. But they're like, no, it's better to start, with those things that you think are like underrated because you learn so much on the job, like walking around, reading patients, doing like administrative stuff. I, at that time didn't appreciate as much, but after I got into college and in my career track, I was like, those are some foundational core values that I'm happy I learned. In addition to that, I tutor special needs kids in middle school and high school, and I think that was also a very humbling experience and a way that I feel, I use my time wisely. So I think anything you can do, it does not have to be like, a job where you're getting paid and working, but something where it's like, you think that, it challenges you in a different way from your education. It's like, it's something you can learn by helping others. That's honestly something that could build, you can build on as you go into college and your career track.
I taught Sunny how to clean hotel rooms. So, I get that. Yeah. I used to afraid of the shop guy, actually. So yeah, you guys probably don't come from, where we came from, that's what Indian people did, usually from Dothan, Alabama. They owned hotels and gas stations and things like that, where we could work and help our parents out, but you probably don't have that here. People that live in Atlanta, they're probably doing something a little bit more higher up. Other things that you can do, that's going to be a viable option for you, participating in clubs at schools. FBLA was a big part of my high school. I did SGA, stuff like that. What you want to get from these part-time experiences is, number one, completely agree about learning the socioeconomic behavior of the lower class. These people, they are not as educated as we are, and so dealing with them can be very tricky, and they can be very rude if you're not on the same page. But also learning how to become a leader, doing things like that, working at the, just volunteering, things of that nature. I definitely highly recommend doing that. Not only does it boost your resume, it helps it, so really you learn a lot of things. So definitely encourage that.
So along the same lines of extra activities, right? How many of you guys have been at...
I'm Gina and Sonny's kaka. Their dad is my cousin brother. I grew up in Eufaula, Alabama, a very small town in Alabama. There were a couple other Indian families there, no one else my age. But growing up, I didn't know any other Jain people. We would come to the temple, but my relationship with Jainism was we would sit at home, we would do Navkar Mantra, we would sing some stutis, we would, whatever else our parents made us do when we were that age. I didn't have, I didn't know anything else. Then my sister lived in Chicago one summer, and I spent the summer with her in college, and she's like, hey, we're going to this religious thing called Jaina in Chicago. And I was like, oh, I don't want to go to that. I'm not gonna have any fun. I know my Navkar Mantra. I don't need to do that. And she forced me to go. And there I met so many kids my age, and I was like, whoa, maybe Jainism is just outside my family. There's other people. And I met so many people, and they were like, hey man, next year we're doing something called YJA. It's only for kids our age. You should come to it. And that was 2001. I went to my first YJA. And since then, I've been to every one, either as an attendee, a speaker, BOT, or a board member since then. So it's every other year I've been to it. It actually changed my life. I got these guys involved in it as well, because I knew coming from that small town, we didn't have the privilege of going to what we call Sunday school. We just had what our parents taught us, or what we learned on trips to India, going to Palitana or Shikurji or anywhere. And so it was eye-opening that there's an entire community. So you guys should definitely embrace that. You're lucky to grow up with a center like this that does programs, that cares, because it's nuts.
Anything else you guys want to add on that question to move on?
I'll just add to a little bit of what you just said. There has been like a gap of presence from the Atlanta Sung lately. I don't know if you guys noticed it, like with leadership or anything, but we would like to see more of y'all get involved in the future. I mean, I know you're young now, but a lot of college students are starting to do it. So if you have any questions on how to get involved, just reach out to us, or I think Mahim Belsar is the regional coordinator, so he'd be able to help you as well. But yeah, I mean, don't think you're too young to get involved, because there's always volunteer opportunities as a, what is it, LR?
Yeah.
Local rep. So just, reach out if you're interested in that.
There's also a retreat that's coming up.
Yes, and I'm actually going to that as well. Yeah, the retreat is coming up, I think it's the end of March, like 27th, and it's in Pigeon Forge. So hopefully I'll see some of you there. I know I met a few of you guys at the last one. So hopefully we'll see you there.
Who's going right now in the room?
So have any of you guys attended a YJA before? Any of you guys? So for parents, I know it's a little bit daunting to send your kids halfway across the country for 3 days. We do a really good job at locking it down, making sure everything is secure and safe. We have a whole security team. We make sure that there's no drinking or anything like that going on. We're really strict, and so they're in a safe environment, and it's a really good time. So I grew up going to it as well. He had me involved. So definitely register today. It's worth
And
going.
the kids love it.
Yeah.
My son is going for the second time and he can't wait for that. It was
Yeah.
so amazing. Last year he went and he just loved it.
Yeah.
Is registration still open or it's sold out?
Yeah, I think it's still open. Yeah. Not for the retreat, for the convention.
It's convention.yja.org.
And our youth committee is always coordinating events with YJA and has started this with YJP also. So you parents and all the youth, we are very happy that last year and this year we have been doing lot of activities for all the youth. So you all are participating, that way you are coming in touch with YJA and YJP. So keep it up. We will keep on doing activities. If you want any different type of activities, just email to us or WhatsApp us, and unless you ask your parents to do that, just letting you know. Thank you.
Yeah, we're not done yet, so I don't want people to start leaving. Yeah, that's fine. Correct. Yeah, that totally makes sense. So I know we're a little bit late on time, so I'm gonna wrap it up quickly. I just have one more question that is super important, because it also goes along with Jagdishan's keynote about the future, right? So as you guys are mostly in high school, your career is not going to start for until another 5, 7, even 10 years, right? So these people that are on the panel right now, they're talking about their experience, which was another 5 years before that. So what I want them to do now is kind of look ahead and talk about how their field is going to change within the next 5 to 10 years and how they recommend you prepare for that. Okay, so Sunny, let's start with you.
So the main thing with immigration is it changes with each administration that comes in office. So immigration is under, so there's agencies, right? Department of Justice and Department of Homeland Security. And this is going to be like a history lesson, but they're all under Article 2 of the Constitution, which is under the executive branch. I'm sure a lot of you know that, right? Yeah? Okay. So the thing with that is those people that work for Department of Homeland Security or Department of Justice, they work directly under the president. He can fire them or, hire somebody new whenever he wants. So that's why immigration changes with each presidential administration. So if Trump is in office for the next 5 years, where do you think it's going to go? It's going to get worse. Laws are already really tough right now, especially with like public charge coming out, making it harder for people to become permanent residents. So in this career, it's just going to be tough. You never know what's going to happen until there's a new president in or the Supreme Court can, rule against some of his laws. So my advice with that is don't be like, dissuaded from going into immigration law. I think of it as something that just challenges me more and pushes me harder to keep fighting the good fight. So that's why I love what I'm doing, because it's called movement lawyering. No one case is going to make a difference, but collectively all of our cases are going to make a difference in the future. So that's the best advice I have for you. Is just, if you want something challenging, go into immigration.
So for healthcare in general, I'm just kind of make it broad. I think the biggest things, so government changes will obviously impact reimbursement, Medicare, Social Security, which impacts all the healthcare across the system. So it's changed already, even from when I graduated pharmacy school over 10 years ago to where it's at right now. And so it's really, reimbursement rates are lower, things like that. So it's really changing. And so a lot of the providers, nurses, physicians, pharmacists, optometrists, like you're all pushed to provide more work, more benefits. You're being compared to the next person next to you. Like, how did you do? There was a New York Times article recently about how a pharmacist misfilled a medication and a patient died from it, but you're in the retail pharmacy setting, like you're pushed to fill so many meds in a certain amount of time, and they're all just kind of looking at numbers now. To fill that, and it's just very disheartening to see that for my profession itself, because I know how hard my friends work in the retail pharmacy setting as well, being pushed and working long hours and being expected to fill these. And I'm sure many have been to the pharmacy and it's like, why is it going to take 2 hours for them to just count 30 pills and put it in a bottle? But there's more to it than what seems. And so I think the changing in that, and then just without technology, electronics, telemedicine. Michigan is actually opening up their first pharmacy, and I think in a few weeks, where there's not going to be a pharmacist on site. The nearest pharmacy with the pharmacist will be like within 10 miles away, and it's to be able to serve more rural areas, and so that it'll be a technician. They're using video monitoring to check in. Makes me a little nervous, makes me really nervous actually, a little scared, but how is this going to impact patients at the end of the day? But I think just with technology, the changes that are coming, like it's going to be very different from what it is right now, compared to even 10 years ago, when I get pharmacy students to this day and they complain about not being able to find something in the chart or it's on the computer, and I'm like, listen, 10 years ago, I had to go to the floor, go find the blue chart, had to fight with the doctor because the doctor gets priority, and then wait to see what's going on with the patient. You couldn't just look at the computer and figure it out. So I still kind of bring it back to my pharmacy students on a basis where I'm like, you have to think about how it was and how things are changing. But I think there's a lot of changes coming. I'm excited to see where it will be. And as far as advice for you guys, I think as a pharmacist, where I take pharmacy students, I take learners, so it's easy for me to teach you clinical knowledge, but some of the things that can't be taught, I will echo exactly what Jagdish Uncle said. Like, people skills, being flexible, adaptable, and having a positive attitude, those are things that are going to help you succeed, and those are things that you have to gain with experiences. But other things can be taught to you, but some of those basic like core characteristics of personality are things that I would encourage you to develop.
Yeah, so I mean, just looking at what's changed in the last 5 years, it's insane. Right now, we have contact lenses that transition into sunglasses while it's in your eye. We have orthokeratology, so people that are nearsighted, you go to sleep with these lenses. When you wake up, you take the lenses out. You can see clearly without having laser surgery, and it stops the eye from getting worse. So most of you that are nearsighted, you'll remember that every year it was getting worse and worse. We can actually stop it now. But with technology, telemedicine has been a real issue for us. The Georgia Optometric Association is fighting some of the clinics in town that they don't have someone there checking the eye. They're just churning out prescriptions to get glasses sales, but they're not taking care of the patient. So even though technology can be a good thing, we have to be ready to fight, bad decisions and bad things that are going to come about. But with that, there's going to be newer instrumentation, better ways to diagnose and treat diseases earlier. So it's a good outlook.
For me, I'll just talk broadly kind of about the manufacturing industry. So as technology is becoming more and more relevant and very prevalent, it's overtaking the human capital and what we have as far as, for my industry, specifically interior design, the artisans whose trade has been passed down generation to generation is now becoming obsolete because of factories and machines replacing them. So for me, it's more like a personal motivation to keep those people, their lifestyles, their livelihood thriving, because I support artisans in rural villages now for my projects. So they make all the furnishings that we supply to hotels. So I'm trying to change that, the scape and the whole hotel industry, moving away from everything imported from China and hopefully sustaining the human capital and the skill set that we have there. And then again, for LED industry, the only reason I pursued that is because, again, a personal motivation is how do we do something better for our environment? I like Jagdish Uncle was talking about the way the earth is going, the way that we're treating it. In so many years, a lot of species of animals, everything's going extinct, our resources. So making a career choice that's hopefully intentional, like aligned with your core values, for me specifically Jainism, a lot of that feeds into my career choices and my daily lifestyle choices. So I just encourage you to, whatever you do, have an intention more than just what's furthering your own career, but how it's helping other people and our environment, our earth, and all of that.
Being on the end, sometimes I forget the question. I think the question is, what was the question?
How do you see your field changing in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, so I'm in technology. It changes daily, weekly, monthly. There's a new product out every so often, and companies are buying it. They want you to learn how to do it, but you still need to be able to support some of the old stuff. So just being flexible, and I think just being flexible in life is important in terms of anything that you do. I think that's key. I'm going to keep that answer short, but I want to piggyback off one comment that was from early on, where we were talking about how we've changed our career, or the path our career has gone. One aspect in that, for the kids, it's important to communicate with your parents, communicate with your teachers, help them understand why something may not be right for you if you were pushed in a direction. And for the parents, it's very important for you guys to listen as well. Just, sometimes as Indian parents, and I've seen it's happened to me, parents just shut off the kids. It's important for you guys to have that open ear and listen, and be a mentor and a friend as well as a parent, because you can do all three.
Absolutely. Are there any questions that you guys have? We'd love to hear from you as well.
Jagdish Uncle is also available if anybody has questions for Jagdish Uncle. We had to kind of cut it short because I didn't know time was running a little short, but we have time, so we can keep it flowing right now.
What about this?
I just wanted to know what Jagdish Uncle was point about the part-time job. So what are the opportunities for internships for this alien kids who are not citizens, because they cannot get paid? How they can get the full ticket for internship? Because every good company they want to apply, they cannot take it. Because their areas?
Yeah, I can take that first and I'll pass it on. So I was also an international student when I first came to this country. So throughout college, I was on a student visa, right? But I can tell you this, right from my freshman year, I had an internship every summer. So there's no barrier. There's of course, it's more difficult to get internships and co-ops, especially if you're not a citizen, but there's no barriers. You can still have those opportunities. For me personally, I just sought them out. I talked to a whole lot of people. I made sure I had relationships with my school advisors and our school dean, who helped me out a lot. But like I said, I had internships almost every year in college, and then that's how I actually landed my first job at Cigna, which is now one of the top 12 companies on the planet. And I got into the most prestigious IT rotational development program through that. But yes, there are barriers, right? The other thing is once you graduate, you also have the OPT and the CPT programs, right, that give you the flexibility to work for 1 or 2 years even after, without having to get sponsorship. So that was my personal experience. I would just recommend talk to as many people as you can, network with as many people as you can, go to as many career fairs, like just talk, and that's like, you will land somewhere.
Was your question more catered to someone that's like undocumented, that has no legal status?
They're dependent.
They're dependents, right? Of H1. Yeah, so, I mean, when I was going through, we didn't have many paid internships, so it was unpaid. So a lot of times I didn't ever get questioned, oh, do you have status or anything? So mainly I just looked for those kind of internships at organizations that didn't really ask, or they didn't pay. But I know in your situation, you probably want someone that pays. Sure. So I actually interned in DC for an organization called NAPAVA, which is the National Asian Pacific American Bar Association, and they represent almost all Asian Americans that are in the legal field. And during that internship, I was able to lobby and push for policies that would help undocumented immigrants like myself. So that was an unpaid internship, but I got a lot of useful skill sets from that. So I would recommend, if there's someone like that, to go out and do something that's going to help them themselves in their situation. I think that answers your question. I'm not sure. Right. There are several organizations, even in the Atlanta area. I mean, I can give you a few. Even our organization, we take interns. If someone wants to help us out, which could be, we don't just do legal, we do other stuff as well, such as civic engagement, which pretty much goes out and helps people vote and stuff like that.
To add to that question, if I may, is it okay for anybody who does not have a work permit to work without pay? And is it okay for that company to hire somebody to work without pay? Is it legal or illegal? That is the question.
Yeah, if they're working without pay, it's voluntary, right? So it's a volunteer job. So technically, you don't need work authorization to volunteer. But I'm never going to advise someone to work without work authorization, if that's what you're asking.
No.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, you can always volunteer. Volunteering is fine, even if you're undocumented. Because you're not getting paid, you're not having to file taxes or anything. Yeah, you should be able to volunteer, because I did it, and they never asked for anything.
I think we had a question over here.
Who was it? A question here? From a student, maybe? No?
There's one here.
How we can connect and follow YJ and YGP related updates and events and everything?
That's a great question. So one of the ways is definitely through JSGA, right? There's a youth committee here that you connect to. But also, Maheen is not here today, but he's our YJA Southeast representative. So he can put you in touch with a lot of things. But I would say that the best way to connect with things is through Facebook and social media. There's several groups on Facebook that constantly keep updating on events. There's several events that we do locally in Atlanta, but also nationally, like the retreats and the conventions and things like that. But yeah, if you want to stick around after, I could give you some of that information as well. Yeah.
Do you have any other questions? Oh, Bomi has a question.
So, what direction do you guys recommend going in with scholarships, and like, what are the best types of scholarships to like apply for?
So right now, you guys are in a fantastic situation to get scholarships. There's actually, there was a kid who got like $4 million worth of scholarships, and he created an app that lets you do that and get those scholarships. You want to just apply to as many as you can, period. The reason why is the more you apply to, the more you're going to get, higher chances of you getting accepted. You need to apply to as many scholarships, take advantage of the Hope Scholarship that you get in Georgia. Student debt is real, and I'm realizing that because I've only been practicing for a year and a half, and it's tough. Student debt is one of the biggest, debts in the country right now. I mean, it's trillions and trillions of dollars. You can use your guidance counselor at your high school as a resource to see what she can come up with. There used to be this website, I can't remember the name right now, but it was a website where you fill out like a questionnaire, details about yourself. They take into your minority, your age, things like that, what your GPA is, and it sends you scholarships all the time through the portal on which ones to apply to, and it takes like literally 30 minutes to apply to it.
I think there's an app. It's an app for that as well.
Yeah, I think
it's super quick. You just fill out for like 2 minutes, and it sends you scholarships right away.
Yeah, I recommend doing as many as possible.
Yeah. Also, Google's your best friend. I know a lot of people that just Google scholarships, and they get so many. There's another scholarship that is for immigrants or children of immigrants. So if your parents are somewhere above the line, were immigrants to the United States, they're eligible for this scholarship, and I want to say they pay a lot of money for it too. And it just requires an essay. That's it.
Another question.
It's okay. We can hear you. Okay, perfect. I'm a mother of twins. They're junior in high school. My daughter knows the track she wants to be on. My son, he has no clue where to start. Only thing he knows what he does not want to do, but he's not sure what he wants to do. So what would you recommend in that situation?
Well, he does have a start. If he knows what he doesn't want to do, that's still a start. That's still a really good start. Because a lot of us, when we were in high school, we had no idea what we liked, what we didn't like, what our preferences were, right? So that's still a good start. Does anybody have any recommendations?
My recommendation is for you to get less anxious.
Also, I'm going to add to that, so if he knows what he doesn't want to do, it's pretty much you can rule out a lot of schools that are very specialized. For example, if it's like a very engineering heavy school and he does not like math at all, well then there's no point in wasting time applying to like Georgia Tech or MIT or something. But if he has an idea of a few subjects that he likes, there's so many schools that are known for like medicine, they're known for liberal arts, they're known for so many things, and maybe go to one that has like a wide variety of majors that they're known for, and that may be a good starting point. But yeah, it's good that he knows what he doesn't like, because then honestly that could help you tailor your list of colleges to cut out.
Let me add one more thing. I mean, this is more serious comment now. In case he truly does not know what he wants to do, generally the recommendation would be for them to go into a liberal arts college. That's foundational planning. And there he will figure out what he wants to do. If you go into occupationally based programs like engineering or business or pre-law in some fashion, liberal arts is a great background. In fact, we are pushing even in the business schools to have a foundation in liberal arts. Better schools are doing that stuff as opposed to starting from the day of accounting or finance or whatever it is. So I would recommend that might be helpful. More important is whether he likes large universities with 40, 50,000 students, or does he like a small college, let's say Oglethorpe, with maybe 2,000 students only. I think it makes a difference. Emory, which is about 11,000, 12,000, versus Oxford College, which is a small one, maybe again 2,000 students or something. That's more important because the ecosystem will enable you to discover what you really want to do. Can I make one more comment?
Yes.
I do want to say that I need to stretch my leg anyhow. There is no orthopedic guy here, right? Okay. The one thing is that this is a very important to figure out. Some people are more passionate not to study. We as parents want them to study. So we want to make sure examinations are done right, they're grading A+ or something in the college. But there is a clear message, it's a research based. The best entrepreneurs are not business entrepreneurs, they're all musicians, rock star people. They've lost the school in their mind in high school. They don't like regimentation. Entrepreneurs never like regimentation. If you have regimentation, show up at this time for this class, they will bypass somehow. Even if it requires cheating or whatever they do, because they don't like to be constrained. Therefore, they perform relatively poorly in college. They drop out. So for example, Bill Gates is a dropout. Mark Zuckerberg is a dropout. In fact, if you look at all of the very successful entrepreneurs outside of IT even, most of them are college dropouts because their mind is not on what we think they should study in colleges, but they're just, so you have to either create a program for that, assess like TYE that I mentioned earlier. TY is a great group, and so they assess you from that, you like entrepreneurship, and in that case you have to allow them to say, even if you don't get a degree, it's okay. Eventually they will come back. By the way, we have some great family members in Atlanta who have sent their kids to Stanford, which is a pretty good school and expensive. The kid is turned on by some magical thing he wants to do, gets $8 million. Immediately the investors are saying that you should really not study. So the investors made him drop out of the school. But ultimately, after successfully launching a business, now he's completing his senior year. So you can complete your senior year in 8 years. I think the problem is that our generational difference. And what in my generation was very tough to say, I will tell you what you do, engineering or math or whatever, medicine. I think we have to become a little more. It's all out of sheer good concern. But I think it puts pressure on the child in a way that may not be as healthy. Yes, please.
Wait, so what you were saying about liberal arts, like, I don't really understand why that's any good, because arts, it doesn't look like it's going to pay a lot, like, right? And then, I mean, like, the same way you said a lot of graduates were dropouts, not a lot of musicians and stuff, like, graduated from liberal arts schools either. So I don't see why you consider it such a good, like...
I was talking about two different things. Liberal arts is to stay in the college, and quite often liberal arts may give you an urge to do postgraduate immediately, like a master's degree. Because you now have discovered after 1 or 2 years what excites you. Because liberal arts gives you a complete, from philosophy, for example, to history, to literature, sociology, economics. You are sampling little things. Whereas in our professional programs like business school, we rope you into business only, so you have not experienced anything else. So that was a different comment than entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, I was adding on that some people, because I must tell you, Silicon Valley has created this unhealthy excitement among people to say, I want to be an entrepreneur. And sometimes it may not be the right spirit in some fashion. So we are trying to counsel out. At my university, we have a program for undergraduates where we do a Atlanta hack, we call it. Not a hackathon for coding, but in 72 hours now, people come from all over the country, 400 or 500 people. They've never met before even. Some are already pre-planned, they're college students, but different campuses, so they say this is an occasion for us to take a week off and a weekend off and just work together, come out with a program. We have a venture capital people waiting, but it's a test to say, is that what you want to do? Very successful. And we organize that as a sort of almost a volunteer work on behalf of the university. So I just want to mention, an entrepreneurship should not be limited to high tech. In fact, the best entrepreneurs are in very mundane businesses, not exciting, such as self-storage. That's my son, he's not here, I can talk about that.
Yeah, just to wrap up with her question. So what he's trying to say is liberal arts is going to give you, the all-around thinking that you need to, have a successful career, whatever you decide. So for example, for me, I majored in economics, and the reason why I did that